1 week from today, the 2018 NFL Draft will be taking the sports industry by storm. And we're going to get you ready as only the OFN knows how to, with the best scouting data and depth chart dissection rolled into one for this 2018 NFL Mock Draft Special. As Ourlads Guide to the 2018 NFL Draft with Dan Shonka on the Ourlads Football Radio Network starts now. It's Thursday, April 19th, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma, and you're listening to the Ourlads Football Radio Network with Ourlads GM and National Scout Dan Shonka, where it's never too early to think about the NFL Draft. I've been saying that for months, but this is for real because we're a week away, days away now, as I introduce Dan Shonka to the program. And Dan, the guide is out. I love the new look. Are you happy with the latest edition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, Greg, that, all the guys that write for us have got pro scouting experience and have worked for, many of them have worked for teams, and some have coached, for teams, and then also scouted. So we got quite a cross section of people that evaluate our talent, and then I see everybody. I'm over the top, and I look at everybody, and that's why my job started last May. So because it's quite a because people you see a lot of these analyst things out there. They look at the first 1 or 2 rounds, or 1, 2, 3 rounds. Well, I look at 1,000 guys. Now, obviously, some. I don't look at and study as long as if, I feel they can't play, or they're, low free agent kind of guys, and you spend more of your time on the upper guy, like Barkley, for instance. I looked at 17 tapes on him over 2 years, more for my enjoyment than evaluation, because I evaluated him on, the films, 5 or 6, 7 of them, but I took notes on the others as needed. But
sure,
just fun to watch him play, and the same way with Mayfield, So,
sure.
But anyway, no, we're we feel very good about things, and now we're interested to see what the teams do.
Yep, should be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of programs next week, and we're looking forward to that. We've got the mock draft contest at Ourlads, so that's a cash prize awarded out for the winner. That's all 7 rounds, so that's going to be available all the way up until the clock strikes 12 for the first pick, the first round.
Well, Wednesday, the deadline is Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, okay.
At 12, yeah. So, there's plenty of time, and there's really some good mock drafts on there, to be honest with you, guys that have really, thought well. And then, of course, with the trades and things that have happened recently, like we had the New England trade right away the day we're printing the magazine, So,
yeah.
But all those are up to date, and the players who play the mock draft challenge get things up to date, and it's really. Tell you what, I think they're all having a lot of fun, though. I know that.
Well, that's what it's for. It's for fun, and if you can make a little money off of it on the side, then that's great. Okay. Yep. So, and by the way, what's coming out next? Is that the draft review? Is that because you had the newsletters is just been arriving recently? So, what's next? Is it the draft review?
The draft review, yes, and that takes place after the rookies have been in their mini camps, and then. The start of OTAs, because we want to see how these guys are going to fit in with their teams and how the ball clubs view them. Because some of these guys will get moved around different spots. You remember last year, like Peppers, nobody really knew where he was going to play. We figured he's going to be a hybrid guy, and Greg Williams off their defense up at Cleveland.
Yep.
And so they moved him around a little bit. They played him in some halves and things like that, which is probably not good for him closer to his line of scrimmage. Probably the better off he is. And the other thing is he's really good at the ball in his hands, and he did not see a lot of that last year. But so it's good to see how the teams are going to use these guys, and that's why we put out the review of the draft after the OTAs.
All right, so let's get to it. This is our mock draft special. We've been doing this for I probably should have kept count for how long we've been doing this for now. It's I know I'm pretty bad with years, but we've probably been doing this 8 or 9 years, which is really it just shows you how time flies. But anyway, so I'm going to get the first pick. So we're going to rotate, but that doesn't mean, of course, that we're not going to interject and talk about other opinions. And what we're going to kind of do to make this kind of interesting too, and different is that Dan's going to go basically with his numbers, how he would do it based on all of his scouting. I'm going to do a mixture of what I would believe plus what I think the teams are going to do. So this should make it interesting. So that means there's going to be all sorts of craziness, hopefully. But again, the bottom line is breaking this down, giving you analysis as best we can on the players and the teams and what they need. So let's get started. I've got Cleveland. And this is exactly kind of what I'm talking about. I just really believe that Cleveland is going to go with a quarterback here. I know that they want to. I'm sure that you would think that they would want Barkley too, but I just don't think they're going to take the chance unless, like what happened in my mock draft, which I have them trading with the Giants so they can get the first and second pick, so they can get Barkley and a quarterback. But I'm going to go ahead and take Sam Darnold here. I just got to believe that they're so desperate to make sure that they get the right quarterback that pressure will be the reason that they'll go ahead and take Darnold. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I guess if you listen to common knowledge, they're probably take a quarterback, but in my mind, that's probably the worst thing they can do, passing a Hall of Fame guy for a maybe quarterback.
Yep.
And both quarterbacks that have been talked about there are maybe guys that are definitely a 50-50 chance, not to do well or just be a guy, So, I mean, to me, I like the sure thing as much as you can. And
sure.
Obviously, I would go with Barkley myself, but
yeah, I would take. I think we would both go with Barkley, and then we would take either Rosen or Mayfield with the fourth pick, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we would do, but I don't think that's what Cleveland's going to do. Do you believe any of this stuff of what you're hearing with Barkley not wanting to go to Cleveland?
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, but I know they're denying it. But he's kind of a New York kid. He's close by there, by New York and things. So. But, I'll go ahead and make my second pick. And
okay.
I'm going to say Saquon Barkley.
All right. And who would be your backup? Let's say if Barkley goes to Cleveland, what do you think the Giants do? Do the Giants go with Nelson?
That's where I had in our guide. But I think because of Pierre-Paul out of there, I think they might go Chubb.
Okay.
Although they do need Nelson, but I think that's still, Nelson's a very good player, but his position does not warrant that. And I know he's going to be a Pro Bowl guy, but I think Chubb's going to be a Pro Bowl guy too. But the value is with that pass rusher. It's higher than a guard. And so I'd take Chubb if Barkley somehow, goes there at 1.
All right, so Darnold and Barkley, that's the first two picks. So I got the Jets. And by the way, we'll have Jan Levine and I will have our Jet shows starting next week. So we'll have a preview, I believe, on Monday, and then we're going to have a show actually on right after they pick. So and then we'll put that on demand right away, so you'll be able to get that, listen to that on Thursday night, and then we'll have a couple other shows after that. So we're going to have a lot of Jet shows on Jets Uncovered. But look, I've been talking about Mayfield since we've been talking about Mayfield on this show, and probably since October about the Jets. About hopefully the Jets would get Mayfield. Now they're in position to get him. The way I look at it, Dan, is that I don't know if Mayfield is going to be the guy. I hope he is. I think one of the reasons why I think the main reason why I'm having a hard time believing Rosen goes to the Jets, and it's the only reason, is that because first of all, you got the West Coast kid going to New York, you got to deal with the media and all that's going to come with it. And then you got the whole thing with Woody Johnson and being, a Trump guy. And I know it might be silly to some people and what Rosen said about Trump. But when you're in New York and you're dealing with all sorts of crazy media, every little thing like that can just blow out of proportion. And I just don't think that the Jets should take a chance like that when they don't have to, when they can going to go ahead and take Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I agree. I think that certainly it's going to be an interesting conversation, but I think that Mike McCagnon would like Mayfield over Rosen.
Yeah, I hope so. Reasons. Yeah, I hope so. So I think we both agree. And look, as a Jet fan, I want Mayfield, but if it's Rosen, I'm not going to be unpleased. Okay, so let's go Cleveland, Dan. So Darnold off the board, Mayfield off the board, Barkley off the board. What would Cleveland do if they stick here at number 4?
Well, they need secondary help in the worst way, and of course, I've been a big Minka Fitzpatrick guy for a long time, and they actually got 2 pretty good defensive ends. When you're talking about Myles Garrett from last year, and then then you got Ogba, that they drafted, but I guess if you got a chance to take Chubb again.
Because keep in mind the DBs that they also brought in. They brought in Carey, they brought in Mitchell, they brought in Gaines, they brought in Randall. So they did bring in, again, whether we like them or not, they brought in a lot of guys that are going to be playing. A lot of DBs.
Yeah, and so hence we'll take Bradley Chubb.
All right, so Chubb is off the board. And Denver now is the pick here. And I know a lot of people believe Denver could go after a quarterback. See, I just studying Elway a lot over the last year or so. I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking that he's going to take Rosen here. I just think that he feels more comfortable with these veterans like Case Keenum. And I think if you bring in Rosen, you take away an opportunity to get a really good player. When he could feel, hey, I won a championship with pretty much a broken down Peyton. Keenum's not broken down. I could play with him for 4 or 5 years. Let me just give him some more help, and so therefore I'm going to go ahead with this pick, and it's between a few guys. I think they could go Vea. I think they could definitely go Fitzpatrick because Talib's gone, and by the way, Roby is a free agent next year. But I'm going to go Quentin Nelson. I mean, you put him on that offensive line. They need some offensive protection. They just got rid of Anderson, so they're going to probably try to upgrade at running back at some point in this draft as well. But I also would not be surprised, and my guess is, and I don't know if you agree with me here, Dan, I think they're going to trade down. I think this is one of those teams that could trade down with like Buffalo or Miami.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's certainly in the cards, and because I think they wouldn't be disappointed if they miss on Nelson because the new offensive line coach, Sean Kugler, coached Will Hernandez.
Oh, yep, that's true. Yep. They could get him later on. Yep. Just trade down. Yeah, just trade down.
Pick in the draft, they might be able to get Will Hernandez.
Yep. Especially if they wind up trading down. Now you can kind of juggle up and down. Hey, you like him, now you move back up a couple of spots and get him. Yeah. So, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But all right, but Nelson does make sense, too, obviously, because they need to improve that offensive line. There's still a pretty big opening on that at guard. So I'll go with Nelson. You're next with Indianapolis.
Yeah, since, we lost our top guy because we really wanted Chubb in the worst way because we went to a 4-man front. But I'm not opposed to going with a defensive back. I mean, we need help everywhere, at Indianapolis, except, hopefully our quarterback's going to be in one piece. I think that, I just.
Is Fitzpatrick the guy? You think is he a cornerback? Do you think?
Well, he's what you want him to be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He's whatever you want him to be. That's why he's valuable. And, and do you take a corner there? They put a lot of money in some last year, but, probably wouldn't hurt if they had a corner. But do they, I tell you what, I just think we're going to go ahead because he can play everything. And I know they drafted Hooker last year. They drafted Quincy Nelson last year, and that they really helped there. The best value on the board right now. I don't think they'll grab a receiver yet. They can get all kinds of them. An offensive lineman, I don't think they're going to reach that much. I think they go ahead and take Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That makes a lot of sense with Chubb off the board, but I think we both agree that they would like Chubb to be there. And Chubb could be there if, as we talked about, maybe if there is a team that moves up, makes a trade with Denver, that kind of activity, you could see Chubb with the Colts. Okay. Next up is Tampa Bay, and another team that I believe you could see trading down. I think this is another team that has a bunch of needs, and I like their GM, so I think that they're very. I mean, this is a big draft for them. There's no question about that. But this is a team that obviously doesn't need a quarterback, but. Look, they need a running back, which is another reason that I could see them trading down. If they trade down and get some more picks, you can take Geis a little bit later on if you want. If you don't get him early on, you can get some of these other running backs later. But we all know they need a running back. They definitely have to improve that offensive line. But like you said, it's too early to go with any of the other tackles or guards here. So if Quentin Nelson's off the board, which he is here, they're not going to go with their offensive line in the first round unless they trade down. But they need a corner. And so we've already gone with one of the cornerbacks here. You've got Fitzpatrick off the board. So pretty much that gives me an opportunity to take Ward. I can go with Ward. I could also go, if I wanted to take a safety, which they need, I can go with James. If they want to go with another line, I know they got 3 linebackers, including David, but Edmonds is a guy that I would consider here. But I'll go with Ward. I know corner is just such a big priority for them. So I'll take the kid from Ohio State.
Okay.
What do you think?
No, I think I think that's good. I think that I always like the multiple use guys, and like Derwin James could play a lot of things.
Sure.
But you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think that Denzel Ward is certainly going to be talked about there. I could see them grabbing him, at 7. Since Fitzpatrick is gone, I thought if Fitzpatrick was there, they'd probably take him, but. Anyway, on to Chicago, and I think that there's really no lineman there that value, so that puts them at linebacker. I think the middle linebacker, they got really good choices here. It's a matter if you want big and fast or if you want fast and explosive. And I think that they go ahead and they take Tremaine Edmonds.
All right, Edmonds.
Kind of like, he's about the same size as their locker.
Yeah, and they can definitely use that because, like as you mentioned, they've had no position has had more turmoil, off-season turmoil on the Bears than the linebacker position. I mean, they've let 4 outside linebackers go. Christian Jones is gone, and the only guy that they've replaced them with is Lynch. So they've got they got a couple of good players there, but. Yeah, they have a lot of openings at linebacker, so definitely makes a lot of sense for the Bears to go that way. All right, so Edmonds is off the board. Those are our first 8 picks. Now we're going to move on to San Francisco, and the 49ers are another team that can use a DB here. So James is on the board. I like that. There's a lot of talk, of course, about Foster. So if Foster... and by the way, San Francisco would possibly have liked Edmonds to be there, but Roquan Smith is there. So, and Vay is there. I think Vay would fit perfectly there, but I think it's between Smith and James. I think that's going to be the choice. It's a tough one, but you know what? They've got both of their safeties are free agents next year. And James, as you mentioned, is a guy that can do, he's a versatile kid. So he could play up in the box, almost like a linebacker if you need him to. So I'm going to go ahead and take James.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think, I could see them taking Smith. but James is hey, they need him back there, and for some of the reasons that you mentioned too about contracts and things like that. So, and that now what that does for me at 10.
By the way, Dan, how does James compare to Jamal Adams?
Well, they're different players. Now,
okay.
You see, Jamal can't really do some of the things that James can. James can line up as an inside linebacker, although really, hey, Jamal, I mean, he can play corner in a pinch. That's kind of a press corner. That's kind of what James can do. James is a little bit bigger, but I think the skill set on both those guys is really good. I tell you, James. I think that Jamal can play deep halves and stuff better, than James can. James might be just a hair. I mean, he's kind of like Buchanan from Arizona. He could step up there and play an inside linebacker spot because of his size and everything too. But
the talent is.
If I was grading, I'd take Adams ahead of him, like they're both the same draft.
But they're different players.
Take Adams ahead of him.
Okay. I got that. So, but they are different players. But you think James is just a little bit more talented overall. Got it. Okay. So next is Oakland. What are you going to do there?
Well, I'm gonna make it real easy and quick here. We're taking Roquan Smith.
All right. And he is off the board there. And you take a look at the Raiders. They definitely need some linebacker help. They could also use probably a slot nickel corner. They could probably use another corner there, another defensive end. Keep in mind Edwards is a free agent next year. I don't think they're going to bring him back. And you know what? This is another team that at some point you would think too in this draft, and it probably won't be in the first round, of course, but this is a team that probably has to start thinking about a running back for the future.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they will take one in that second round because they're in the second round loaded with them.
All right, next up, I've got Miami, and the Dolphins are, of course, one of these teams that we would think if they want to go out and get themselves a quarterback. What's interesting is that how we can sit here and with no ability to trade. I always found it interesting how with no ability to trade on your mock, you can wind up with the same players that you would get if you were going to trade up and get them. But that's how it is because you're trading up trying to avoid other teams getting them. So, I mean, it is interesting if you think about it. But for here, the way our situation is, I don't even have to do anything. This is easy for me. I'm taking Josh Rosen.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the Dolphins are going to trade up to get him, too. I don't think they're going to stand pat. Who do you think would fit best under Gaze, by the way? If they did trade up, or even if they stayed here in this situation, who would be in the entire quarterback class, to include Mayfield and Darnold, who would be the best quarterback fit for Gaze, do you think?
I think Rosen is a good fit
there
at Miami. So, I think that's a very good fit.
All right. Next up, Dan, you've got the Buffalo Bills, another team with all that draft ammo that you got to believe if they want to get their quarterback, whether it's Rosen, you would think it's probably going to be Rosen, but you never know. I know what you think about Allen, but that doesn't mean the Bills feel that way. They could move up and get Allen or Rosen, but here in our situation, they're at 12. I know you're not going to take Allen because we've already gone through those parameters before we started the mock. So how would you go here then?
Well, they need a lot of help here, and that's why I'm really wondering if they're going to do much trading. You know what I mean? To say way up, in regards to trying to get one of those quarterbacks, because gee whiz, they got holes in a lot of spots, and I think they need players, and I just. Whether it's the guards or what have you in there,
Yeah, this is another team that you're talking about, these offensive linemen, the guards, the potentially a right tackle, maybe a center, even though they went after Russell Bodine, but I don't know why they would be confident with him. They need a middle linebacker.
I tell you what, yeah, I think Bodine is a little better than people think. The way that Paul Alexander taught the offensive line, they didn't use their hands as much, and that's one thing Bodine really has, is very strong hands.
Okay.
And I think Juan Castillo there is. It will not surprise me. See, Bodine only signed a 1-year deal, and he might come out of there a very rich man, just like the center did Jensen out of Juan coached for years there at Buffalo or at Baltimore, and he made himself a lot of money going to Tampa. So I think Bodine is throw him out with the bathwater.
Okay.
But nevertheless, there's not a lot of there's no offensive line help in my mind right here.
True.
I think McGlinchey would be a reach here, and I know they need a quarterback. And geez, I tell you what, if I go by my grades, I'd take Rudolph here.
Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
I could see Rudolph going.
Yeah, they also need a corner.
I feel comfortable at 22 taking Rudolph. You know what I mean?
Well, without us trading, you'll probably be able to get him at 22. Or one of the quarterbacks at 22.
Right. And now, linebackers right now.
Yep, they need a linebacker. They need a corner. Because Vonta Davis is on a 1-year deal. Can't trust him.
Yeah.
And they need a receiver.
Yeah, that's the other. I tell you what, I trying to think of. I like as cold as it gets up there. I'm going to be looking at cold weather type players if possible too, because some of those guys that. Although I tell you what, Tre'Davious White did a pretty good job, and he's not used to that cold either. But let's see here.
Yeah, right now the top corner on the board is Alexander. He's actually the top DB left on our board is Alexander. And Ridley's our top receiver on the board. So
and
then linebacker, the top linebacker on the board is Landry. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not a heavy linebacker class early on, is it? There's only like 3 of them, right? That should go in the early, maybe even 3 in the entire first round, right?
Right. So I think that in fact, I think in our guide we went ahead and we went with Rudolph there at 12.
Okay, you want to go with Rudolph?
I think that's strong for him. I could really feel comfortable at 22, but I feel that's strong for me. I tell you what, we'll put Mason Rudolph in there.
Yeah, I mean the other teams after Buffalo, Baltimore and Arizona could both take quarterbacks. So you might as well just get the guy that you want to get. So, all right, Rudolph is to Buffalo. And the Patriots are drafting right after Buffalo, and we know the Patriots are definitely taking a quarterback at some point. So that's Rudolph's a guy, too, that they might want. But he's after Buffalo. Okay, so Rudolph's off the board. That leaves Allen and Jackson as the only 2 quarterbacks left for potential first-rounders here. Next up is Washington. And Washington, they definitely need interior defensive line help. So you've got Payne, you got Vita Vea. Let's see, they could use Jair Alexander, the corner. You know what? I don't know when he's going to get drafted, but Geis they could use. But I'm going to say it's going to be between Alexander and one of the defensive tackles. But I'm going to go ahead and say that, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pair the Alabama defensive lineman. So I'm going to go ahead and do Payne. So Allen was a gift for them last year, and he lived up to it. So why not stick with another Alabama defensive lineman? What are the big differences?
The only reason is Vita Vea is just a little bit graded ahead of him, but yeah, like you said, they're so close, and the skill set and what have you.
What are the biggest differences from the 2?
Well, Vea is 344 pounds, can really run, and Payne is not that wide, but I think the key is Payne can play defensive end or that defensive tackle, whereas I think really Villa is more an interior guy, nose tackle, defensive tackle. So you might get more versatility, out of Payne.
Got it.
So
okay,
it's close. Those
yeah.
guys are really close. So that's
two good players, definitely. Villa and Payne. Okay, Packers are next, and Green Bay. Let's see. They definitely at some point early in this draft have got to look at a receiver because the depth is gone with Jordy Nelson out. And let's see. They also have to. And by the way, Randall Cobb is a free agent next year too. They need some depth, you would think, at offensive line. They've got to do something to make sure that they've got, because they haven't really worked out with some of the guys they've drafted recently, Spriggs and Murphy, and you saw what happened when Balaga went down again last year. That hurt them. What else? They need linebacker to replace Brooks, and probably also another corner, you think, or maybe a strong safety. What do you think?
Yeah, no, they definitely need a corner. I mean, there's a defensive back. I think that they brought back Tremont Williams, but
he's old.
He's old guy. You know what I mean? They got Kevin King's a rookie over there, and so I mean, I think that let's see.
Alexander's the top guy on the board.
Right. And Alexander's got the speed, is a good hitter and everything. I think I'm going to go ahead and put Jari Alexander in there.
Okay. Alexander is there. And by the way, Alexander is your 14th rated player.
Yeah.
Packers pick 14. There you go. All right. Next up is Arizona. And with Arizona, boy, this is a team that I think should want to trade down because they have so many needs. Even though they have 2 picks in the first, I mean, they only have 1 pick. So what they need to do is just try to get 2 picks and as many picks as they can, because now with the defensive switch, with Wilkes coming in, they're going to need defensive ends. So that's a priority. Their corners are besides Peterson, they're awful. They need 2 corners. They've got to get another tight end in there. They have got to get another receiver in there to learn with maybe 1 or 2 more years left of Fitzgerald, and they can use another linebacker. So they got a ton of needs. I think they're going to trade down if they can, but they're going to stick, and they need the offensive lineman. I don't want to forget about that. McGlinchey or Connor Williams is also something to keep an eye on, but we also know they need a quarterback. So with Allen and Jackson left on the board here at this point in time, but this is kind of this is just the way it is. And again, this is why I think Arizona is going to trade down if they can. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? At this point in time, I am going to go ahead and take a quarterback. I'd rather wait till later, but under our situation, if they don't trade, then I mean, since we're not trading, then again, they're going to have to wait, and then the quarterbacks might be gone. And I'm not saying that we don't like some of the other guys, Lauletta or White, but I don't think there's no way I think they wait for that. So I'm going to take, I'll go with the guy that's rated the highest on our board, and I'll take Allen.
Okay.
All right. So, but bottom line is as you can tell, Dan, I mean, they have a major ton of needs, and I'd be surprised if they didn't trade down, if they could.
Yeah, right. Unless maybe they love Allen, they feel like 15. But Steve Keim also said yesterday at a press conference that you screw up on a quarterback, and that sets your program back a long way. So we'll, especially I guess in the trade, and then you put him at, but. Yeah. I think that's a good pick. 16, I'm going to go ahead and go with Ridley at 16 for Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore definitely looking for more receivers, younger receivers. So that's another team, by the way, that's talking about quarterbacks. They need somebody to eventually replace Flacco. They need another tight end, somebody because when Watson's your number one tight end and he's like in his mid-30s and gone, they need another tight end in there. There's another team that can easily trade down and get more picks, but you're going to go ahead with Ridley, get one of those big needs off the board. The top receiver's gone. Next up, the Chargers. And the Chargers definitely have got to do something about their offensive line. So I'm not even going to waste more time here. I think it's on our board, it's between the offensive line and the defensive tackles. And you've got Vea left on the board. And then you've got the offensive lineman. See, with Vea still here, it does intrigue me to want to go that way because he slipped to 17. But they've got to make sure that the offensive line is what it is. They've got to still protect. I know they've done a nice job. They got Pouncey in there. They picked the two kids last year, Feeney and Lamp. And they still have Okung. But the right tackle, I'm not sold on Barksdale. So I'll go ahead. It's going to be a flip between Williams and McGlinchey, but McGlinchey's the top guy on the board, so I'll go ahead and take McGlinchey here.
Yeah, I tell you, that's not a bad. I know a lot of offensive line coaches out there think McGlinchey's the best tackle, so he's probably going to be the first one off the board.
All right.
First tackle, and his teammate's already gone. So at guard, so McGlinchey, yeah, that's a good pick. Although I will say this, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
he's still sitting there, but
well, somebody will drop. Somebody always drops.
Yeah. Yep, and really, guy, so, all right, so we got Seattle, and so what is Seattle going to do here?
Yeah, Seattle, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere later on in the draft, if they actually took a quarterback. They need somebody to back up Russell Wilson. But
I agree.
There's a guy I absolutely love here. Love it, and he's still available. And that's Darius Geis. I think Darius Geis would be a great fit for Seattle. Now, I don't know if it's too high or not, but I'd throw him in there, and he'd be my next Marshawn Lynch. That's what I would do with Seattle. But anyway, they got a lot of needs, a lot of little needs. And let's keep in mind their draft pick situation. They don't have a second or a third.
Yeah, that's the thing. That they might have to take one of those other running backs that fall from the, second and third round if they don't take guys here.
Yeah, they could trade down. That's something we'll probably.
And they do, yeah, and they've been known to do that.
Yes.
So yeah, that could happen. But I tell you what, I know that they lost some. Let's see, they got Clark and Averill, and I tell you what, I think they could still. Well, hey, he's a hometown boy. I don't know how they can pass Vita Vea. I mean, we'll put Vita Vea in there.
All right. So yeah, if he's going to fall this far, like you said, he's a hometown guy. You might as well look at him. Now they have Nazir Jones and Jaron Reed, but Sheldon Richardson is gone, and they also need maybe some defensive end depth with Bennett gone. But hey, if Vea stays this long, that would be a nice little story there for him to stay at home and go with Seattle.
Yeah, and then they got rid of Malik McDowell, who got injured right away last year, and they were counting on him to start.
There you go.
And
that just happened, right?
Yep, just happened. So they signed a couple unrestricted guys, and Tom Johnson and Shamar Stephen. But Via's the guy I believe that they'll go with since he fell right in their laps.
All right. Next up is Dallas and the Cowboys. Look, they've Des Bryant's gone, so I could see if Ridley was still here, he would be a nice addition. You've got Goddard, I think, would be a very good choice here. They've got to find somebody to take over for Jason Witten when it's all said and done. That's not going to be my pick though. I'm going to go ahead and take the look. They've talked about Jones moving over to corner. Maybe that's his best spot. That leaves a big hole at free safety. I'm going to fill it with Harrison.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's probably as underrated the player in this draft that there is, but not a lot of people have been talking about him, and more people think he's a second-round guy. I got him in the first. I think he's a terrific player, and, I think that could happen.
All right. Next up is Detroit. And, when I was looking over at Detroit, Dan, I was realizing, they are really not that far off personnel-wise. If they have a good draft and find another impact player or two, I see no reason why this team can't be better, especially if the coaching staff can start getting a lot more out of this team.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they would take a guard here or not. They need some more help in the offensive line. Will they take another pass rusher? Ansah was a free franchise player this year that signed. Would they take him? Or would they, let's see, the best player on the board right now is Geis is the high, or Landry on the outside.
They don't need a linebacker. I mean, Sam Hubbard is there, and Hubbard and Davenport, like you said, Ans is a 1-year guy now, so they can use a defensive end.
I'll tell you what, they rolled the dice. I'm trying to think. Although I tell you, Quinn wasn't there when they drafted Ansah, though. Because Ansah, you couldn't be any greener than that guy. I tell you what, I think they go ahead and get another pass rusher and take Marcus Davenport.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. That's it. I mean, look, they have a pretty good. They have an underrated kind of group, especially if Kerry Hyder can come back. But hey, if you lose Ziggy Ansah, and right now your salary cap situation isn't all that great, then that's a big hole to fill. All right, so Davenport's off the board. By the way, what's Davenport's best position and best scheme?
Well, see, he stood up at Texas A&M, or Texas San Antonio, and but he's a fast guy. In a way, he kind of reminds you of Ansah. When Ansah came out, maybe he's raw and green as a gourd, and when Davenport put his hand down at the Senior Bowl, he really looked like he was off his game a little bit there. So he's gonna have to work at that. But one thing he does have is speed. He chases people down from behind, plays away. I think Davenport is going to be their guy.
Okay. Cincinnati's next, and Cincinnati's another team that can use a tight end. Goddard definitely should be considered here. They can use some defensive end depth. Smith is gone. Johnson and Dunlap are free agents after the season. They can use some depth at corner. Jones is gone. Denard is a free agent after the season. But offensive line, to me, is the top priority for this team. They need a right tackle. They need a center. They need a right guard. They've got to go offensive line here. They got to get some running going for Randy Dalton in the passing game. So I'm going to go ahead with that gaping hole left open at center and take Ragnow, the center.
Okay, because I tell you what, now a lot of people haven't been talking about him because he broke his ankle in the 7th game this year. But now Cincinnati, what they may do, just because Price, is an Ohio State kid, and although he did tear his pec, he had surgery on that, they might consider, taking Price at that. And then the other Ohio kid is Daniels from Iowa. He's from Warren, Ohio. But Ragnow is he's a 6'5", 320-pound guy that is really good in run blocking up, and he can play guard easily. So he takes away, all three of those guys take, the inside 3 positions. But Ragnow is, like I said, a lot of people just kind of, out of sight, out of mind, and he hadn't been talked about much, but he's really a good football player.
Well, Tobin knows what he's doing. So, and by the way, first thing, of course, I was looking for was if there were any players with character issues, but I didn't see any, and so I passed. So I went with just the top talent, because if there was a character issue player around in this level, I would have grabbed them, because that's what the Bengals do. But anyway, let's go with the Bills, the second pick. You had Rudolph as the first pick, so the Bills are back on the board. And we said before that they needed a corner, and what else did we say that they needed? Offensive line. They needed they needed offensive line. They needed a guard. I mean, maybe this is a good spot for one of the guards. Linebacker. They need one of those, but probably a little too high for Leighton. So what do you think?
Well, I think that. They had really good luck with the corner. I don't know if DJ Moore, might be a guy for him at wide receiver.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And he's our second-rated receiver, and that's in their mix. Of course, I tell you what, a cold weather player. You talk about the Leighton Van Esch kid. He's used to playing in the snow out there in Boise. And he can play, I think, inside or outside.
Sure.
I tell you what, this is very interesting, because we got him in the top of the second round. But if he played, I could see, we got more graded higher, but I think they could get, another. They got two ones, two twos, two threes right now. Buffalo does, so they're going to get receivers in the second round.
There's a lot more depth at receiver than there is at linebacker. That's for sure. Yeah,
I think they're going to, now, because they need a inside guy. I think they take the Leighton Van Esch. It's a little bit of a jump for him, but I don't think I missed.
Well, maybe he'll like that, because I was talking to his agent the other day, and we're trying to get him on the show. So hopefully I'll be able to get him on, because he did ask me about that. When I first talked to him, he was asking me about the where he was listed, his rankings at Ourlads. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, hey, because those are the early ones. I said, hey, it's early. I'm sure he'll come down. So when I talk to him again, I'll say, hey, he was 22nd in our mock draft. So how about
we updated, all the position rankings and stuff on the site now too. So.
Yep. So let's make sure everybody can check that out. Okay, so Leighton Vander Esch is gone to Buffalo. Now, New England. This is one of their two picks. So I'm not going to waste any time here, because I know they're going to get a quarterback. And with all the quarterbacks on our list gone, I'll take the last one remaining, and I'm going to go ahead and take Lamar Jackson.
Whoa, that would really be interesting there. I like to see. What happens on that deal, because
well, that's why I think the Patriots are going to trade up too. I don't know how far they're going to get up, but they're like we talk. I see the team that I like for them to trade up with is Arizona, because they can get to 15. They can get. I think Rudolph might be there, and if he is, I think Rudolph would probably be a good spot for him.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. So I can see Arizona being a good trade partner with the Patriots. But look, at this point, it's either take Jackson, or they could wait until a little bit later on. See, the problem is, if you wait a little bit later on, let's say you want Loletta as your second choice, the only thing is now you got to wait, and you got to wonder whether or not somebody else is going to steal him from you. And then you got no quarterback.
Right.
So anyway. So,
would they consider taking Goddard here?
The Patriots would. I would say so. Well, again, I don't know if they'd still have him at 31. It's possible, but I agree that, I think they would. I definitely have New England on the list of tight ends, because, like you said, because we all know about the Gronk situation.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep. So if he's still available at 31, but again, because I know they're so desperate to get a quarterback, that's why I went here. But I think Goddard could definitely be the guy if this is the situation that the Patriots are in, because I've got Goddard and to tell you the truth, maybe Connor Williams who's left on our board, because they could definitely use another tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can't be serious about Adrian Waddle.
Right. No, they can't.
No.
That's for sure.
So, all right. So Carolina's next. And
I tell you,
go ahead.
Yeah, they got to have a corner, I think, in there. I think Josh Jackson is going to be the pick.
Okay. From
Iowa.
your backyard.
Yep.
And he was a playmaking machine this past year. But, yep.
He sure was.
Carolina definitely needs more corners. And this is another team, by the way, that has a lot of needs. I was going over this team, and I was going, I can't believe how many needs they have. I mean, that's this team. This is another team that could trade down possibly to get more picks because they need them. All right, Tennessee is next, and the Titans. Taking a look at Tennessee, they definitely need a guard, and I think that's the way I'm going to go here. Keep in mind, with Williamson gone, if they feel confident Jayon Brown can take over, fine. If not, Van Der Esch, if he's available, could be a possibility here. They should look at offside linebackers like Landry, because Arakpo and Morgan are free agents after the year. They're also getting up in the age. But they got that offensive line did not perform up to standard last year because the interior at two spots did not do a good job in the running game. And that was a big issue. So I'm going to go with the top guy on the board. It's either Wynn or Hernandez. So I'm going to go ahead and take Wynn.
Okay.
All right. And that means you're next with Atlanta.
Which I think Atlanta would probably love to have Wynn.
How about Hernandez?
Yeah, but I tell you what, Atlanta's they need a tight end. They haven't had one since Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we're going to take old Dallas Goedert right there.
All right. That was Goddard is with the Falcons. I wouldn't also be surprised at some point in the draft that they've got to go with a running back just in case, some depth, because Coleman's a free agent. They probably won't be able to afford him. So they'll need another guy to take over. Keep in mind, too, they lost Claiborne and Poe this year, and they have not replaced either one of them. So they need some more defensive line depth as well. And they also could use another receiver, maybe another playmaking outside receiver, take over for Gabriel, who's gone. All right, New Orleans is next. And, boy, the Saints are very upset that you took Goddard. Because I think,
I thought they might be.
Yeah, because just like what you said with Matt Ryan missing Tony Gonzalez, I think Drew Brees has had enough of not having his tight end either. So the next tight end on the list would be Gesicki. And I'm not saying I'm not going to take him, but just going over what else is here. The Saints are another team that's going to look for the quarterback of the future possibly, but they're not going to do it in the first round because they want to win now. But they also need a number 2 receiver. I think a guy like Moore would be a great fit here because he could fit in the slot just like Ted Ginn. He could be the next Ted Ginn. Ginn's 33. He's on his way out. And then depth on the line. But you know what? I think it's either Gesicki or Moore. So Moore's the top guy on the board. So that's who I'm gonna go ahead and take Moore here. With this pick, because there is some good there's depth at both wide receiver and tight end, but I'll go with Moore here. I just think he's much more. Of course, he's a much more explosive player, and I think that explosion is something that'll help Breeze out.
Yeah, I mean he gives you little Brandon Cooks, and things like that before Cooks got jettisoned to New England. So that Moore would fit good, and then Pittsburgh. Kevin Colbert is relieved because they want Mike Gesicki, because they lost Van Der Esch. They kind of wanted him, with
That's right.
But they're going to take Gesicki because his Penn State teammate really can't catch all that well, and James, and so they're going to take a guy that is a terrific athlete, and So we'll go with Mike Gesicki.
And local, too.
Yep.
All right. So they get Gesicki. So the tight end, a couple of them off the board. Jacksonville's next, and the Jags. Let's see. The Jags definitely need some offensive line help. Based on who I've got here, I think it's either a number of offensive linemen left. We've got Connor Williams, we've got Hernandez, and we've got even Braden Smith, who I like because he can play at multiple positions. And I know we're not even sold yet that Cam Robinson's going to be the left tackle of the future for the Jags. So a guy that can play multiple positions. But Connor Williams is the top guy. So I think it's between Williams, and I'm going to go with Williams, but I wanted to throw in a little sneaky thing here. Just imagine if they added Geis to the roster, and you had Geis and Fournette.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and take Connor Williams.
Okay.
All right. So Minnesota.
Done. Yep, in the books. All right, Vikings. Let's see. Hey, they're not. They could certainly go for a corner. That they're a little disappointed in the corner they took a couple of years ago from Michigan State. And so I think that, that's a consideration anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Newman's gone. Waynes is going to be a free agent after the year, so corner's definitely a top option. And they also need some defensive end depth. Hunter's a free agent after next year. Robison's getting old, so and then they lost a couple of defensive tackles too. They replaced him with Richardson. What do you think? And they also may be adding a guy to take over for the Jared McKinnon at some point. Penny could be interesting. Who do you like?
Well, let's see here. We got. They brought in Riley Reef last year.
Oh yeah, that offensive line.
Weimer, yeah, that tackle is
That's a big issue.
Yeah, because I tell you, I actually like this one athletic tackle that's here, in Colton Miller.
Oh, okay, the kid from UCLA.
Yep, I think it's all ahead of him. He's a terrific athlete, and that's one thing that teams really like. They, let's see. I got a safety. Do I have a safety sitting here?
Allen is the top-rated safety.
Yeah, there's other guys that are rated higher. Of course, I wonder if Landry, the outside linebacker, they got, Barr, and then Gideon really played well for them last year. And Hendricks. And,
keep in mind, both Barr and Kendricks both of them are free agents after next season.
Yeah, so, that might be, a play, because Harold Landry's setting up there, our 16th rated player.
Yeah, he slipped on our board.
And he's slipped a little bit, and then there's corners there. Oliver is available there, and
Landry can also he's also going to be able to play down too on the line at times. Landry.
He's not Greg. He's just not really big enough. He's more of a pass rushing 3-4 guy.
Okay.
And although they all play multiple scheme type stuff, and but that's what he does best is rush the passer.
But he's going to be a 3-4 guy.
Well, yeah, just because, and that's the way we look at kind of the size. Now, if in some packages, yeah, he could probably go in and not get beat around too bad or anything. So, but another guy that I like a lot, but Landry's right ahead of him. I like Sam Hubbard more than most people do, and he's that defensive end that.
They need defensive end depth. That's for sure.
So. He's a guy that will compete for a starting spot.
Yeah, you got Hubbard, you got Landry, you've got Oliver. Let's see. Diggs is a free agent after the year. They can use some wide receiver depth. And like I said, they can use somebody to replace McKinnon. Yeah, I know Cook's coming back, but what happens if Cooks gets hurt again? And plus, they also need a kick returner. That Penny could do a good job for both the, good
Yeah.
backup running back, kick returner. So there's a lot there. They're gonna use a guard. I mean, they definitely need some offensive line and tackle, like you said. They need some offense and left tackle. I mean, they need or right. They need some tackles too. And
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Colton Miller here from UCLA.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think the Vikings. I think that's their biggest issue is the offensive line.
They've got a lot of UCLA guys on that team, and Barr and Kendrick, and
there you go,
UCLA guys. So yeah, I think that we'll go ahead and give that a shot.
All right, Patriots. Let's see.
Are mad because they wanted Colton Miller because he reminds them of Solder. But anyway.
Okay. And of course, Goddard's gone, or that could have been somebody as we talked about. Hey, maybe they go loco with Landry. That would be a perfect.
Well, they need him. Yeah,
yes.
They do need Landry. Yes.
That would be a perfect fit for them.
Yep. And they need I tell you, they need a couple linebackers, but they need a lot of stuff people don't realize. But I think that Landry is a guy that we kind of penciled in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Landry's and then Rashad Evans is a possibility too. But I think Landry, because they need a pass rusher. They lose Nikovich and stuff. So yeah, that's a good fit right there.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't rule out Geis as well. Geis is somebody that could, because they really need a true number one.
Right.
But Landry's the guy. Okay, so final pick is Philadelphia, defending champs, your old boys. I'm sure you were smoking a cigar at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So what the Eagles, the Eagles could use another running back. Ajayi is a free agent after the year. Blunt's gone. They need keep in mind Aguilar is a free agent after the year. He's a slot guy. They could use a slot receiver. Tackle, Peters is 36. He didn't even stay healthy last year. Tackle is a big issue for them. And then of course maybe some depth on defense. Who's our top-rated guys here?
I tell you what, they could use a tight end too. I don't know if you mentioned tight end, but
you mean as a number two?
Yeah, they could use because
they use the tight end, two tight ends a lot.
Yep, and they could use, and of course Goddard's gone.
You got Hurst and Andrews.
And Hurst is there.
Yeah, Hurst and Andrews are pretty close. What's the difference between Hurst and Andrews?
I tell you what, I think Hurst. Well, Andrews is actually the better athlete of the two. But Andrews I don't know if he refuses to block. I don't want to say that, but Hurst is not a great blocker, but he gives a little more effort, and I think that, we got Hurst rated higher. I like, Andrews is he thinks of himself more as a receiver, I think, than anything. So, I tell you what, they're close, but Hurst is 25 years old, so yeah. I don't know. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with Hayden Hurst in there to the Eagles.
Okay, and that leaves the top players as far as your rankings that we did not pick. You've got Geis. He's the 15th rated guy on your board. He's available. Let's see. You've got, and these are first-round guys based on your top 32. Hernandez, we talked about him. He's 32, actually. You've got Hubbard at 20. You've got Hurst, the tackle from Michigan, who's got the heart issue that he's been cleared. He's 27. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is off the board. So that's good, because we know what's going to happen. I mean, the Seahawks are probably going to draft the guy that you have somewhere in your fourth round.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they end up not playing for him, and they wonder why.
Yeah,
like the offensive line.
If Eddie. Yeah, they'll pick another. They'll pick pick a good offensive lineman that you have going in the fourth round, and that Seattle will pick him. But yeah, so you know it's going to happen. But I think we've done a pretty decent job. And next week, I know we're going to be on the air on what did we say, Wednesday, right? I think that's what we said, Wednesday. Or well, we're gonna definitely. Well, bottom line is we got next week before the draft. So we're gonna do a final show. I'm sure there'll be a lot of other rumors. Maybe there'll be another trade before it's all said and done. And then, of course, we're also going to have we'll have a show on Friday. So we're going to recap day one, and then we're going to do the shows the week after, where we're going to recap every team's draft and get your feelings on how everybody did. So we've got the mock draft contest on the website. The draft guide obviously is out there ready to go. So it's this is the time of year. So and you've got a million interviews to do, right?
Yeah, and I was going to say, when you talk to Vander Esch's agent again, you can let him know that, hey, we had him in our guide too, going to Tennessee at 25. So he's been in our first round mock drafts all the time. That's right.
There you go.
Tell him to get his client out there and get some experience on the radio.
Oh yeah, I'm making it work. Hopefully we'll have him on in the next few days. I think he had his final day. Might have been yesterday. His final workout. So hopefully we'll get Leighton on. We've got a bunch of other interviews lined up on the OFN meeting room. And Dan, I appreciate your time as always. And look forward to talking to you a couple times next week on draft week.
You betcha, Greg. Hey, thanks a million, and let's enjoy this quick mock draft here, okay?
You got it. Thank you, Dan.
Goodbye.
All right, that is Dan Shonka. I'm not sure how quick that was. I think that was okay. What did we do? Actually, we did about an hour. We probably started about 15 minutes in or 10 minutes into the show, so not bad. 32 teams in an hour. Change, not bad. All right, so, by the way, Dan's got his mock draft up. He's going to have his rankings updated some more, so you want to check that out up on the Ourlads.com website. My mock draft is in. I've got them broken down into 3 reports. 3 reports, right? 864 reports. I can't add or multiply. So I got the 4 reports broken down. So that mock draft is in. I've got some more content that we'll be posting up between now and then. Again, we got the shows between now and next week. The Jets Uncovered, the Ourlads Guide to the 2018 NFL Draft Show. That's this show with Dan Shonka. And then, of course, the meeting room interviews. Hopefully we'll get Leighton on. Dallas Goedert, we're trying to get him on. And a bunch of other players between now and the draft. So go to the Ourlads Football Network. Go to the OFN Radio Network right there on the homepage. Click that. Got to scroll down a little on the homepage, but it's dead center in the middle. But check that out. That's where all of our information is on the OFN. Again, Ourlads Football Network. So go there. That's where you're going to see all the content that I mentioned, as well as the interviews and all the shows that we do. Everything is posted there. So check that out. We'll see you again actually, probably the next time you're going to hear from us will be when we do our interviews. But this show, we'll see you next week. We'll see you next week with Jets Uncovered. And all that and more for the next 10 days or so right here on the Ourlads Football Radio Network, where it's never too early to think about the NFL Draft.